All right, we're back again, live from the GoSec conference. I'm here now with François Guay. François is actually he's the one that heads up the Canadian Cybersecurity Network on LinkedIn, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
So you had started that. So I wanted to just get a sense of, because I've been following that for quite some time, right? And I, to be honest, for the longest time, I didn't know who started it, and obviously I was starting to see more of François being representative on that. So what made you start that whole network on LinkedIn? Like, was it just like a place where people could just collaborate and discuss, what's going on in the cybersecurity industry? Because it's definitely morphed into something much larger now. But what was the original concept? What was your thought process around starting that?
The original intent was I saw a booming market in cybersecurity, and it reminded me a lot of what telecom was like in the late 90s. And having lived through that, I saw the huge opportunity to create this national network. There really wasn't a national network out there. There was no focus on, there were little groups in Quebec, and there were little groups in BC, and a little bit in Ontario, but there was no national group focus on a couple of things, but the main one was collaboration. One of the big things about the Canadian Cybersecurity Network is we're trying to be the glue to bring everything together. So as an example, businesses, we have businesses that can join our network, individuals that we support, universities and colleges that we're also very involved in.
Okay.
And then the last one, which is the most important and the hardest to get connected, is community partners. So organizations like the B-Sides of the world, and the ISACAs of the world, and the government-funded organizations that are a big part of the solution for cybersecurity, but are not involved, and a lot of our members aren't even aware of.
Okay. And how long ago did you start it?
I started the LinkedIn group, it'll be 4 years in November. And
I started 4 years? It feels like it's been longer for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, 4 years in November, and I started with no members.
Right.
And now it's about 31,500.
Wow.
And then the webpage began about just almost 2 years ago, not yet, in February, I think March. So we've just put out a complete new web design, and
let's talk about that.
Huge focus. So I mean, we're really, it's growing at 3,000 members a day now.
Sorry, how many?
3,000 members a month. Sorry, not a day.
Wow,
Yeah.
a month.
A month.
Okay, so we're growing exponentially here. Okay, so I always feel like you know almost everybody in that network, because I see you having conversations with almost every member. So this must take up a lot of your time, right? Like, I mean, you're obviously very involved. I see you're very in tune to what's happening. You're always promoting other organizations as well, which is great. You're like basically a hero to the Canadian cybersecurity industry here, because we haven't seen anything else like this. So speaking of that, is there anything else like this, like that's out there? Like, I know there's a lot of emphasis on the U.S., right? That's where the problem is. So I like the fact that you brought up something that's Canadian based, that's Canadian focused on the Canadian industry.
There really isn't, there's not many I would call national groups that are doing this, or there's a lot of competition in those countries.
Right.
So I would say here, we're really the only one that's national.
Right.
I think we've seen groups that are trying to go a little bit more national, but they're mostly provincial.
Okay.
So they're provincial, and they're funded by government in most cases. They're funded either by the Quebec government, or the Ontario government, or the BC government. We don't take any money from the government.
Right.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think for us, we want to move fast and we want to innovate. So we're always trying to get to do something new without having someone to tell us that maybe you can't do that.
Right.
And it's just a different approach. Just like next month, we're going to launch this new program called Hackers on Video. It's a whole new talent management platform that's going to allow candidates, anybody that wants to get into cybersecurity, to take an interview on the internet and then be available directly to the employers.
Nice.
And employers want to be able to hear people communicate.
Right.
A big part of cybersecurity now is, can they communicate to customers? Can they talk to their members?
Right.
And you can't tell that from a resume.
No, exactly.
So this is why employers want this service.
Okay. And and what about like business of vendors as well? Is it open for vendors also? Because I know some of these type of platforms try to shy away from having vendors promote their wares on these type of platforms. Are you open to that, or is it? Or they have their own particular space, so to speak?
Well, business members are the only ones that pay.
Okay.
So they do pay to become a member on the network, and we kept it extremely low for a couple of reasons. One is there's an awful lot of SMBs out there. They're very small.
Right.
They're
Yes.
trying to break through.
Yes,
They're having a lot of
exactly.
challenges with marketing and
That's
sales,
right.
and we're trying to help them in that area. So we offer a lot of services for SMBs. As an example, a small company can become a member, and it's only $300 a year, and we're
Okay.
giving them 5 free jobs on our Canadian Cybersecurity jobs, which is a $500 value to start on
Okay.
top of everything else we're doing. So we're trying to accelerate SMB growth
Right.
in Canada. Large organizations pay $1,000, but we don't on our LinkedIn group or on our pages let them promote their companies per se. We want to
Okay.
try to be somewhat
Yeah, because I
agnostic.
didn't really say anything like that.
But
yeah.
we do offer services like webinars, like our webinars
Right.
for 2024 have all sold out except for one so far. So we
take note of that.
So they sold out. I mean, we had people come in and just grab them.
Right.
And we've got some other services we're going to be offering soon. They're just very popular, and we are seeing an influx of competition, right? So we are seeing some companies coming in because they see a market opportunity in Canada, or they don't want to lose market share in
Right,
Canada.
right.
And so we're seeing that transpire. So I have the ability to kind of be able to see that, right? Which is
Yeah.
kind of nice.
So are you running this pretty much solo, or you have a team? Like, who's behind all this? Because we obviously see you as the face, but obviously I don't know if there's other people supporting you
Right.
in this. But
I would say that for the first little while it was definitely mostly me.
okay,
So it was a lot of work on top of all the other things that I do. But now we have, I pay people to do things, of course. I have some employees that do some great work.
Right.
I have a team of advisors that are fantastic, right?
Okay.
So I've got advisors from every province out there. I mentioned, in Quebec, we've got Gabriel Bodbol, who a lot of people know. We have Ghislain Nadeau that
Yeah.
was with Prompt, that's still with Prompt, that we do work with. And in every province, we have someone that we actually do work with that
Okay.
provides some feedback and advice to us and gets involved in some of the larger projects.
right.
But then we just we do a lot of work and pilots with companies.
Okay.
So we'll like with Hackers on Video, we're about to kick off our pilot. We involve them at the beginning.
Okay.
So that we can actually test out, how's this going to work for you? Is this valuable to you?
Right.
What changes can we
Yeah.
bring? And then we don't make them pay at this point. We're just testing things out.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually having a few educators as well. So some of the universities are testing it out as well to see
Very
how
nice.
they could use it.
Very nice. Okay. So if we talk about GoSec, just want to talk about. Is this your first time at GoSec?
This is my first time at GoSec, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your?
Love it. I mean, I've known Julien for a while,
Yeah, of course you do.
and he participated in one of our panels last year at
Okay.
FIC, I guess in Cyber this year.
Yeah.
I got involved. Love it. Like I said, it's first real event that we've actually been at, so that's why we're still upgrading our booths and everything else. It's
Right.
not something that we really focused on.
Right.
We focus a lot more on the larger events that are digital,
Right.
simply because we're reaching a larger audience.
Big time. Okay.
But been involved. This is great. I've met a ton of people here today.
Of course, because they all know you.
Yeah, so getting to know people and meeting other people that I haven't met yet. So
Right.
interestingly enough, there's some people that have never heard about the Canadian Cybersecurity Network. So
Right.
it's my mission to share that.
So, is there any plans for the network to actually have an event such as like GoSec? Do you think something that you would put on, or you want to
It's-
keep it just digital?
It's not something that we want to do because we want to let our members' event shine.
Right.
So the only thing we're going to be doing, and we're going to be rolling it out next year, is informals.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing informals across Canada,
Okay.
across locations. It'll just be kind of a meetup of some sort.
Okay.
It could be for drinks, it could be for pizza, it could be for ice cream, it could be anything.
Okay.
Which we may get sponsors for. It's nice to have things paid.
Of course.
But it's going to be very, very informal, meaning that we don't want the sponsors front and center.
Okay.
So we want it to be about our members and about networking, and just having a good time. So we're going to start doing that. Maybe have a few this year, but really, really roll it out for next year.
Okay. Awesome. So I think it's pretty obvious where people can find you.
Yes.
On LinkedIn. Canadian Cybersecurity Network.
.com.
Also, you have a website. Also, good. And François Guay. So listen, I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you very much,
I'm sure
Ellsworth.
we'll obviously be collaborating with you. Thanks for coming by GoSec, and hopefully we'll see you again next year.
Thank you so much, Ellsworth.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Please hang up and try again.